Hello, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and just screen share real quick. ARCA was basically our foundational platform that we built with AI in mind. So it's AI native, AI centric. And what we started doing with my experience in this space, I worked with family offices, RIAs, institutions, and we realized that there are a lot of tasks that can be automated using AI. And realistically, what's happened prior is that our systems in the institutional wealth tech and fintech space have kind of been laggards to retail. With generative AI, we're able to catapult that process and realistically drive value with things where a lot of folks imagined that this was having to be done manually. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is our Korscript tool that my team and I have built out. And realistically, it's basically a replacement for the manual data entry for a lot of clients. And I'm sure manual data entry came up with the other presenters as well. It's an issue that we face across the board. So I'm going to go ahead and actually feed in a couple of the documents live. So you guys will see what the operation looks like. So here's going to be investment statements. These are capital calls, distributions, capital statements. And then we have K1 capability as well. So I'm going to go ahead and upload one here, drop it in there for us. And then we're going to do the same for a custodial doc. And that's the most recent that we've actually started doing. So that's going to be the exciting one that I'm really looking forward to showing all of you. So while those are getting processed, we'll jump back to the first one, our investment documents. So what we're doing here is generative AI is actually being used to read the documents end to end. So whatever text is located on the document, we don't really use any type of coordinates on the page. We don't use any type of templates that we need to build out. We're able to actually read these documents right away. So while these are in process, I'll just show you one down here. So something like this, we're able to tell from the document that it is the distribution statement. We're able to tell what fund, what investor, as of what date, and the amount. It'll look at everything else. So when you see something like this with the confidence rate being high, this means that it is looking for these fields within the document itself and it's unable to find them. So it's sure it's not located here. It's not missing anything. But whenever you see something like this, so if we were to come into this 96%, it'll look at the investor and say, look, I'm unsure if this is the correct investor. Although our system is correct, it'll still slap a medium on there. So what we're doing is creating this entire feedback loop to be able to train our model. So if something is missed, you'd be able to actually tell, hey, maybe it was 102, and we'd go ahead and save this. What this means is now you're telling our AI that you did it wrong the first time, which it always saves the methodology that it processed initially, and you're giving it a hint on how to correct it and improve that. So in the future, if any similar types of documents get updated, you'd be able to essentially train it on it and then run it. So you can rerun everything in mass if you need to. And here's one of the valuations as well that were done. And I'll jump into this one as well since there was a medium on this. So this is a very bland statement. It probably saw one date out of here as far as, hey, look, I'm not sure if this is the actual payment date or it's supposed to be this. This is where I'll actually show you guys how to correct it. In our document, we go back to November 5th and we'll say this is the actual thing that should be saved. So once I do this, I press on save. It'll slap it with the manual saying, I have human knowledge that was provided to me of what I did wrong. Now I know how to process it in the future. Taking a step back to K1s, they can get very cumbersome, especially with a lot of the data on there. Our first version of Korscript's K1 processor pulls out all the values that are actually focused on this document. The other version that we're actually working on today is to take the footnotes and the tax effects as well along with this. So some of this in this simple K1 is one statement, but you could have multiple footnotes and you guys know how long it can drag out. Since we're reading everything end to end, we're able to pull everything out of this document at once. And then let's actually show this the custodial side as well. So something like this during prospecting, I know Josh talked a little bit about this for their model. You guys all know how likely it is that you're going to come across a client, a prospect with a bunch of documents coming from JPM, Schwab, wherever, or they're looking for just trying to sum up everything that's come on already. So during ACATs, we're able to actually throw in an entire custodial document, have it processed. So we'll grab the general information from there. We'll be able to grab the alternatives with whatever data is available, market value, contributions, commitment, etc. And then for anything, even down to the cash, we'll be able to allocate those assets correctly. I have an example for you guys here as well with actual fixed income. And I want to show you this here because once it gives you this little error right here, to Josh's point, not all these documents are perfect. You're going to have certain errors, but it'll be able to actually notify you what the error is and for you to go and actually check, is this market value correct? It's not sure yet. So I can go ahead and give it that feedback loop and say, yes, you actually pulled it out correctly. That value does look right. And then it moves forward from there. So it uses that hint moving forward. For equities, if we do have any tax lots, most of these are funds, so you wouldn't in this example, but we'd be able to actually grab tax lots as well. So anything related to your cost basis, unrealized gains, etc., acquisition dates, those all come along for the ride. And you can use this, export it out into any type of prospecting tool that you're using today or offline account management that you're feeding in. The one cool thing that we just rolled out as well that I wanted to showcase for you is once I've done all the alternative statements in here, the investment statements, we do have an integration for you to actually either export it or create the transaction over into a system like Adapar. Today, we support the Adapar via API, but we're looking forward to other systems and clients to kind of lead us as where they would want this data to go. But as you can see, ARQA will be able to, in the future, handle a lot of the transactions here as well, which becomes very interesting using AI because then what we would be able to do is take advantage of a lot of the reconciliatory statements. If there's things like total contributions to date, etc., we can recon against that and say, hey, you've captured everything or you haven't yet. So our next module that I wanted to show you guys and introduce you to is our actual AI chat. And what the AI chat is, it's an AI overlay that sits on top of systems that you're seeing on your screen today. But we're also building connections into systems like CRM, like QuickBooks for billing, etc. And what we're able to do is essentially use all the data that's underlying in these systems that are already normalized and drive insights and analytics on top of it. So you can ask one of the canned questions here. You can come in and say, hey, I want to see what the largest holding is across my entire firm. Now, this will go out via API, grab a lot of the information that's sitting there, bring it back to you and tell you, hey, it's Apple. Great, with the value. Now I can actually start asking it stuff. So can you give me all the accounts that hold Apple? And now it's going to go into the system, look at all the owners and bring it in. This is great for a list of accounts, but realistically, what I want to do is see how much of it I'm holding, what the values are for it. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the same question right here. And then I'm going to actually append it with include shares and values. Now it'll go and create this new query and then bring it back to me, including those two columns I just asked for. And then I can sort this here and look at what by position value, sorted by shares if I wanted to. But we see the largest holder is in this one account. So I can say, what other securities are held in account 24428,686? And I'll remind it to include values and shares. Made a little typo. Let's see if our caret gets picked up. Great. So now it goes and gives me this entire list for the portfolio right here. And then from here, I mean, everything that's available as far as a data set in the system, we're able to query. And I can even ask what ticker is Adobe Inc. And then if I'm curious as to what the price was for it, and I want to use the ticker instead, at least from the view I'm looking at, what was the last price on there? And then it'll be able to provide it. Obviously, it's T+1 or whatever for the purposes of reporting. So we rely heavily on whatever data set it's sitting on. But we're able to essentially draw all of that. And our future state of what this looks like is being able to then take a lot of the analysis you're doing on top of this or questions you're asking kind of on a repetitive basis and leveraging AI to always be on, just like your Nest thermostat is. So instead of you having to ask a question to see the data, we truly believe using AI, you'd be able to essentially automatically query the data set you're looking at. So you're notified when things, criteria is essentially true, prove true. So for an example of you basically asking, show me all the accounts where cash balance is sitting at over 50% of the total value. Instead of you having to ask that question, going to generate a report, we can create that as something we're monitoring and then being able to bring that in and notifying you every time that does become a true criteria within your portfolio. And as I mentioned initially, our AI platform, ARQA, allows us to essentially build modules that streamline a lot of these processes. So our goal in the future, and this is a little bit into the roadmap, will be making your tech stack essentially, if it's Orion, you're using Wealthbox, you're using some other Intuit QuickBooks or Intact Sage, whatever for billing, we'd be able to bring all those in. So now you can ask very insightful questions like, when was the last time that I met with Craig? How has his portfolio changed since then? What are some of the things that I can talk about future capital events that are to come? So now it's using both your CRM, your PMS, pulling all that data into one place, and then showing you a lot of that. And for the
Hey,
core,
speaking of my portfolio, I need to interrupt you. Your 10 minutes are up. Let me just
perfect.
throw a couple questions over to you. Thank you for that excellent demo. The um, the product, is it mainly targeting private investments? So, I saw some custodial statements. So you're looking to expand to all custodians or all types of statements, or are you really focusing really on the private investments?
So we're actually agnostic of the statement. So anything with on the private side or even custodial will be able to handle. And then we actually have certain direct feeds for things that we want to build to. If someone has something they want to grab automatically, even from something like Nav for fund administrators, we could bring that in as well.
Mm. And with your AI chat, can you do the percentage of those holdings? So I say, what's the percentage of that holding at those accounts?
Correct. Yeah. So you can do exposures. It does the calculations for you. And realistically, when you pull stuff in, obviously it piggybacks off of what data is available. But if you want to see a percentage of Apple across your portfolio or percentage of certain domiciled stock, you'd be able to do that across any client.
Thank you very much, Hike. Do you have a question, Nan?
Yeah, Craig, I wanted to just jump in. I saw the demo of ARQA and what they were doing, as well I've seen the demos from FP Alpha, Virgil, Orion. Um, since I was myself in the industry for about 2 decades, I am just looking at all of these different technologies and in awe of how much work they take off of us. I used to do all of this work manually myself, and it would take me hours upon hours to do this. So it's just amazing what all of these firms so far have shown, as well as what's coming next. I'm excited to show you what we bring onto the table. Snappy, it's just I'm amazed at what's coming.
Yeah, and I'll leave you guys with one point. If you're waiting for generative AI to get to an artificial general intelligence to start using it, because ChatGPT answered a thing wrong here and there, I think it's going to be too late for tasks like the one that Anand saw in a previous life as an advisor. AI is at a point where we can automate a lot of those things and kind of put it into the workflow today.
Yeah. Craig, by the way, are you still there? Because your camera is off or something went wrong there. Just
I heard
FYI.
it. I don't want to be distracted while the demo was going on. Excellent. Thanks, Hike.